Before we get into my latest 2026 NFL mock draft, if you have not already subscribed to us here on our NFL Draft Focused YouTube channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that sub button for more free NFL draft videos all year long. If you watched our reaction to Dane Brugler's latest mock draft, you knew this was coming. I promised you guys an updated 2026 NFL mock draft. Didn't even actually have to make any changes to it because the order went as expected from the divisional round of the playoffs. So let's dive into it. No surprise, at number 1, it is extremely obvious. Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number 1 overall pick. What a story. Indiana winning the national championship. I love it. Congrats to the Hoosiers. Mendoza was under duress all night long. That run, though, was, I'm sure Raiders fans loved seeing that. Jets at number 2. This is where the draft begins. And honestly, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have a great feel, honestly, for who the next best player is. I don't know if Mendoza's actually the best player in the class, but he's the best quarterback by a huge margin, so it's a no-brainer. Arvell Reese slowed down as things went along. It wasn't nearly as good. He kind of cooled off a little bit, but I think he's still going to do a lot of fun stuff for you, whether it's as a Frankie Luvo type of linebacker. Maybe that's the best play for him. The Cardinals at 3, Francis Maugioa. I thought he played pretty well overall this season. There are moments, he's a little bit slower with the footwork than what you would like, but I think plugging him in as a right tackle option for a Cardinals team that has to protect whoever their quarterback is makes plenty of sense. I think you can argue David Bailey should go too. He was that productive this year for Texas Tech. I don't think he's ever going to be a premier run stopper, but he gets after the quarterback, and I'm sure new head coach Robert Saleh would love to have him. Is this receiver or offensive tackle? I kind of feel like the Giants are going to take somebody to help out Jackson Dart and the new head coach, John Harbaugh, and whoever the OC is, probably Todd Monken. If the medical checks out for Jordyn Tyson, which I think is a bigger if than people realize, he'll be the top receiver taken. If not, how about Carnell Tate? And Browns get an Ohio State kid, which I'm sure they would also love on that front. I think good chance they run it back with Shedeur Sanders, and maybe a vet comes into the fold there. But giving whoever the quarterback is, short-term and long-term, whether it's Shedeur or they draft somebody next year or whatever, giving him help and giving them a chance to prove themselves makes a ton of sense. I am a huge Rueben Bain fan. I don't care that his arms are short. I know that they are. He dominates anyway. He's got good get-off. I think was really on display against Indiana when he and Akeem Mesidor, more on him later, had that Indiana offensive line in hell all night long. I think he's an awesome player. Putting him at edge with Dan Quinn, needing some help at the pass rusher spot. Whether he goes 2 or 7, I don't think he should sniff, falling at the top 10. But NFL teams do weird stuff. Can't rule it out. I think you can argue Bain's the best player in the class. I think there's a lot of debate about that. I have my name, who's going to be picked number 8 in a second. Who do you think is the best player in the 2026 NFL Draft? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Producer Aiden was very happy with this pick. Caleb Downs to the Saints. The Saints have been willing to eschew positional value in the past, and adding a dynamic playmaker at safety would help out that defense quite a bit. Maybe they want to look at a receiver potentially to help out Tyler Shuck, but 2 guys are already off the board there for the Saints. Chiefs at 9. I am very curious where Jeremiyah Love goes, because you can make an argument in the top 5 for him, frankly, of just like he's a top 5 player in the class. It's positional value stuff. But can some of those teams afford what is more of a luxury pick? I think the Chiefs actually probably could do it and would unlock new elements of the offense they haven't quite seen yet. The Bengals at 10. How about Peter Woods? Thought about, going with another edge rusher or linebacker, maybe a dark horse fit there. I think Woods is still going to be a top 15, 20 pick. 10 is, I think, kind of the earlier end of his range. But the Bengals have had a trend of still throwing assets because they missed on other picks, and defensive tackle fits that mold. I'm going to get weird with it at number 11. Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon to the Miami Dolphins. I don't know if Darren Waller is going to be back. Plus, he was so hurt, it's tough to trust him. Instead of adding another receiver, maybe you add the playmaker at tight end. As the filming, we don't know who the offensive coordinator is going to be, who the quarterback is going to be in Miami, but a playmaker who I think is a really good prospect, clear first rounder for me in this class, makes a ton of sense. Sonny Styles out of Ohio State, the linebacker here to the Dallas Cowboys. A lot of popular defensive picks across the board for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Styles, I like CJ Allen a lot too, by the way, but Styles was very good for Ohio State. Just didn't miss tackle until the CFP, unfortunately. This would be a big boost for a Cowboys defense that needs, I'm estimating here, all of the help. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The big game is almost here, and there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, that also means it's your last chance to get into the football action before next season. So close the season outright with Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. One of our Prize Picks lineups here for this weekend, how about Drake May more than passing yards, Cooper Kupp more than more than catches, and Devontae Adams more than catches as well. These are all the Goblin options, which are a little bit easier to hit, but lower payout. I think it's worthwhile when what could be a defensive slugfest this weekend. You can also check out the new social feeds feature on Prize Picks. Share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Links to the comments and the description of today's show. Let's go to our 2026 number 13 overall pick. Spencer Fano at offensive tackle is picked via the Falcons, by the way. Protecting Matt Stafford or maybe a new young guy down the line makes a bunch of sense for LA. Kayden McDonald to the Ravens. He is a run stopper. It's a little bit early, but I worry about Justin Madubuike's health long term. I think adding another big key part in the middle, regardless of what this new defensive coaching staff looks like with John Harbaugh out, does make quite a bit of sense. I love the fit of CJ Allen or Sonny Styles in Tampa. I think Styles maybe is a slightly better fit because of his blitzing, but I think Allen has elite instincts. I think he was a huge part of a Georgia defense that struggled, unless he was playing out of his mind, by the way, and had issues overall with the supporting cast around him. I think Allen is top 20, top 25 lock. He's got so much ability. I'm probably higher on him than most people are. The Jets back on the clock here. Let's get him a receiver for whatever that quarterback room looks like. Kyler Murray? I don't know. Makai Lemon, who's going to probably draw some Amon-Ra St. Brown comps because a bit undersized but physical and also went to USC. He and Garrett Wilson makes that Jets offense a little bit more palatable for a future QB. Keldrick Falk, number 17 here, out of Auburn. This is going to be the Mykel Williams conversation all over again, where he wasn't as productive as you would have liked, but he'll do dirty work, has great traits, can reduce down inside on passing downs. I think he's a great fit in Detroit. I am a huge fan of Mansour Lane, and unless I get, this is a trigger warning for myself, unless I get tease-tabered and he runs like a 4.6 40-yard dash, I'm going to have a tough time not putting him in my top 10, if not top 5 of individual prospects this year. He didn't get beat in coverage. That's what you want out of a corner. Now, the length, the size, we'll see about the speed. I think he's going to be a stud for somebody in the NFL. Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M here to Carolina. I know they drafted 2 pass rushers last year. They still need more, though. They need more juice off the edge. They need more sack production. Howell is not going to be a great run defender, but he does have that juice off the edge. The Cowboys love taking hurt players. They did it with Savone Revel. Do it again with Jeremiah McCoy. I think the combine's going to matter here. It's been awfully quiet around Jeremiah McCoy, by the way, from a medical perspective. I think he could have played had Tennessee made the CFP, but that's not a lock necessarily. But he does fit the Cowboys' MO at corner, and I mean that in a good way. We'll see what Pittsburgh ends up doing at quarterback, but for the time being, I feel like everyone's just going to plug in Ty Simpson here. He's quarterback 2 because there's nobody really else available as a viable option. Pittsburgh has not many very good options on the roster. The crop in free agency and trade market is dicey at best. I think it's the Kenny Pickett thing over again. Hopefully better, though, than Kenny Pickett. So how many quarterbacks go in round 1? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Chargers get some offensive line help on the interior. Vega Oanye at Penn State has outside shot of being like a top 2 offensive lineman drafted, but the tackles always get pushed up. I don't know what's going to happen with A.J. Brown. The contract is extremely complicated, but even a year from now, the Eagles love doing this thing where they love drafting heavy on one side of the ball and reversing it. Every couple of years, they've gone defense heavy of late. Now they go offense heavy. I think Boston would be a good fit long term. Kayden Proctor out of Alabama. I do get some Evan Neal vibes. That concerns me. But I think as an option at left tackle with the Browns overhauling the offensive line, some combination of receiver, offensive line with their first couple picks makes a ton of sense for the Browns. Akeem Mesidor, he's older. He's got medical stuff that's going to have to be vetted. That makes it a bit of a wild card unknown there. He was great this year. A massive breakout season. Yeah, he's going to be 25 come week 1, but if you're a win-now team drafting the back end of round 1, you're probably okay with maybe a shorter shelf life. It actually almost becomes a positive for you, even if that is spin zone. Number 26, Avion Terrell out of Clemson. I still think is going to be a good player in the NFL, even though Clemson as a whole kind of struggled this past season. We'll see what the Bills' defense looks like with Sean McDermott out. KC Concepcion to the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's a no-brainer. Like, fit-wise, I think he's a really good fit with doing some Debo-esque stuff. And the Niners can't keep Ricky Pearsall healthy, and they've had issues with Brandon Ayuk, and it seems like he's done in San Francisco. So, receiver makes a lot of sense. Caleb Lomu slid a bit more than I thought he would. We have to protect C.J. Stroud because, boy, he was a mess under pressure in the playoffs this year. Lomu might need a year. He needs to develop some strength, but I think there is upside as a left tackle starter. The Rams haven't always invested in corners. I like Brandon Cisse. If you haven't paid attention, I think he's going to rise from a national media perspective at the NFL Combine because he's going to be long, tall, and athletic, and NFL teams are sucker for those guys. TJ Parker wasn't as good this year either. Frankly, I think of all the big Clemson guys outside of Cade Klubnik, who went from ESPN's number 1 quarterback going in round 1 of mock drafts to, I don't know where the hell he goes now. He had a rough year, really regressed as a player. But the traits are still there. Pre-draft process could mean a lot for him. Not everyone's going to love Anthony Hill. I thought he was better last year than this year for Texas. I still think at times he's almost like better as just a blitzer moving downhill. Sometimes the instincts can come and go. I do get some Kenneth Murray vibes there. But I think Denver would be able to maximize him. Plus, they are probably going to be in the market for more linebacker help. Colton Hood, the quarterback out of Tennessee, who has been a very popular mock draft pick for Seattle because you got to put somebody in there for him. And corner is an area of concern. We'll see if Reek Woolen's back. And Hood had a very good year for the Volunteers as well. Who did I leave off of my 2026 NFL mock draft? I'm sure there are some names, so let me know in the comments section of today's show. Maybe a Braden Smith replacement here. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia to the Colts. Has a chance to go round 1, by the way, just because of the always ever-present need for offensive linemen. The Falcons take Zachariah Branch, is one of Mel Kiper's guys in a big way, out of Georgia. You have Drake London. You need something else. And London and Branch, very different height, weight, speed profiles do. The Packers, Josiah Trotter. I wonder if they lose Quay Walker to free agency. If so, adding a linebacker out of Missouri makes plenty of sense. There are plenty of fans. Trotter, Jake Golday, Anthony Hill. Lot of good linebackers in this class. I am a big fan of Dylan Thieneman, too, to where I wouldn't be stunned if he snuck into the back end of the first round. Same with A.J. Halsey. Jacksonville getting in at 56 would be very nice value.